Hi, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today. My name's Amanda Hartwick. I'm the Special Projects Coordinator for University Park, and I've got Katie Barron, our city engineer, with me today. You all are in listen-only mode. Katie's about to take us through a presentation on the Stormwater project. Before we get started, I wanted to go through a couple of housekeeping items. Katie, can you put that screen on? There we go. So as I mentioned, you all are muted right now as we go into the presentation. If you've got questions that come up as Katie's presenting, you can ask those questions in two different ways. You can use the questions box and chat your question. It'll come to me and we'll take those at the end. Or you can raise your hand, and again at the end, I can unmute you and you can individually address Katie. So those are your two ways of asking questions. Also, we'll be recording this presentation, so if you miss something, we'll have it posted on our website tomorrow. And again, you can share with neighbors if they missed the presentation. We'll have this video available. I think that's it. Katie, did I miss anything?
No, ma'am. Tell your neighbors that it's posted tomorrow too.
Perfect. Okay, so with that, I will leave it to you, Katie, and I'll join you at the end for questions.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Good afternoon, everyone. As Amanda said, my name is Katie Barron. I'm the city engineer at the City of University Park, and I am going to thank you so much for joining us today. First off, to talk about this very important project, the Phase 2 Stormwater, and I appreciate your time on this cold, wintry day. And as you can see, I didn't make it out of my house today. We got a lot of ice where I live, so I have the luxury of being able to be at home. So this is my home office, so thank you for bearing with us in this virtual environment. First off, I want to kind of give an overview of where we are. I'm going to walk through several things for what to expect and kind of how this project is going to go, how we intend this to go. And as Amanda said, we'll take your questions at the end. Some of these I actually added in for some questions that I'd received via email from y'all. So if I don't address your specific issue or question, obviously feel free to ask at the end, but hopefully I've got everything. As I said, this is phase 2. Phase 1 is actually what is shown in green on this slide on the map, our underground detention that we finished up last fall that is going to store a whole bunch of water, but it's not hooked up to our system yet, which is why we're doing phase 2, which is the replacement of a lot of the city's existing stormwater infrastructure. Those are shown in red specifically. And that includes replacement of the existing 60-inch concrete pipe that's in Southwestern and in Hillcrest. And that it ties in at Turtle Creek, and we're going to be replacing those with 2 box culverts, a 7x8 and an 8x8 in Southwestern, and 2 10x6 boxes in Hillcrest. So that's one of the reasons that we needed to hook this piece up. We couldn't do it at the time. There's not enough capacity to hold the water that we will have in that existing 60-inch. So in addition to that, we have some cast in place junction boxes that we are installing. One of those is at Turtle Creek in Southwestern. That's the largest one of them. And then we have a couple of just transition pieces in Hillcrest as well. We also have the little starred area in the park is the cast in place diversion structure that has a weir in it that allows water to enter the underground detention facility during high rain events. That will also be constructed in this phase as well. So there'll be a little bit of work on that kind of where the pond dumps it at the upstream section of the pond on the north side. Additionally, we have a wastewater line in Turtle Creek. That's the red line in Turtle Creek that we're going to be replacing kind of between the 2 alleys, Greenbrier and Southwestern and Bryn Mawr. That it's in the way of the existing, it's actually right underneath the existing storm pipe, and we're moving that out of the way and kind of over to the east side of the street. We're also going to add a little piece of water line on that street to bring a hydrant down to the corner of Turtle Creek and Southwestern. We also have the replacement of the wastewater line in Southwestern. It's actually under the sidewalk on the north side of the street. It's undersized, and we're going to go ahead and replace that and upsize it with this particular project, and so that when we repave and do the sidewalk, everything's going to be done at once. For the Hillcrest side, there's actually a 12-inch water main that we are going to have to relocate out of the way of our new boxes. So that work will be taking place as well. It'll be happening at roughly a kind of phased timing of all that. And lastly, we added pond dredging to this contract for the pond at Caruth Park. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into it, but that work will be happening simultaneously with the roadway construction work while we're getting that stuff done. SYB Construction Company is our contractor. They were awarded this contract at the mid-month January council meeting a few weeks ago. They had a fantastic proposal. We were very pleased that, with their submission. They have worked with the City of University Park before. We're very lucky to have them. They actually did the work on the Lovers Lane project. If there's some of you that have been here long enough to remember that project. They do great work, and we're really pleased to have them on board. This is actually their schedule of work that they've sent us for how they intend to phase this work and go through with it. We kind of, after our meeting with you residents last fall, we kind of took some of those things and how we wanted to have the contractor build this, and this is what SYB has provided for that. You'll see here, I'll get my pointer up. So this line right here is kind of where we are today. This is the process. We have Turtle Creek work, we have Southwestern work, and we have Hillcrest work. Right here is the pond dredging. It's going to happen in the summer. It'll take a couple of months, and for kind of how that process is going to work. I'll talk about that in a little bit after I talk about kind of the other construction work. But it's going to, as you see, it's going to be happening alongside some of the other work that we're doing in Turtle Creek and Southwestern. Now, when we do work of this kind, we build from downstream to upstream. And downstream in this case is Turtle Creek. So we'll be starting on that end, doing the sanitary sewer work and the water work. Then they'll start in with the cast in place. They got to build that big junction box. So that work is going to involve some road closures and things of that nature. Then once they move out of Turtle Creek, they'll be moving up Southwestern kind of in a linear fashion. Then they'll move around the corner to Hillcrest. So this is the schedule that they've sent me so far, and we're comfortable with this, and I'll go into a few more details at this time. So resident impacts were actually one of the driving factors with how we had the contractor bid this work. So Southwestern will be closed to through traffic from Hillcrest to Turtle Creek. That access will only be for residents. There will be a barricade hard closure at the Hillcrest end. It will be one-way traffic from Hillcrest west towards Turtle Creek. The road will be closed at Turtle Creek as well. And that traffic will be highly discouraged, and they won't be able to go down that way anyway. Once they get there, they'll realize this was not probably the best way to go. But as part of that, driveway access will be impacted at various times during the construction. But we're trying to limit that. So the work's going to be done in a very linear fashion. We lay pipe and then they cover it up, and then they lay pipe and they cover it up. So you won't be able to park on the north side or have access to your driveway when we're in your immediate vicinity. But when they're not there, you will have access on the north side to park and be able to access your property. And I'll show you on the map here in a minute kind of what this is going to look like. But the south side is actually going to be available for a lane of traffic, essentially, to provide sanitation and emergency services. Your sanitation schedule will not change very much. It may happen at a different time of day, but it's still going to be picked up from the front. And we provide that emergency vehicle, emergency services access, but also that's how the contractor will get to and from the job site as well. So in addition, the residents will have access to the parking lot at Caruth Park for you to be able to use that space. That may not be as great an option for you folks on the west side of Southwestern, but as we get towards the east side and towards Hillcrest, that will be a very viable option for you folks to be able to get into your driveway or park your car there. We will make every effort to protect the trees in the parkway. We'll do our best. It's heavy construction, and there's not a whole lot of trees. but we'll do our very best to make sure that those are protected. The roadway work is not going to impact any of the recently installed traffic signals, including those at Southwestern. We will be repaving the sidewalks through there and the curb ramps and kind of making sure that that is, that we didn't have the contractor do that when they would normally have redone the curb ramps and everything around those signal intersections. We had that contractor not do that, and we're rolling it into this contract instead. The pond dredging, as I mentioned, is going to take place simultaneously in Caruth Park with the work that's happening in Southwestern. And during that time period, the playing field on the east side that we just installed the underground detention with, and the tennis courts on the northwest corner, those will still be available. The only thing that's going to be closed, there will be a construction fence around that west kind of side of the park between Turtle Creek and the pond. There'll be a construction fence around that and the whole pond, so none of that will be accessible while they're doing their dredging work. And I'll show you a map of that here in just a few minutes. So I've shown you all this slide before if you were at our previous meeting, but I kind of wanted to reiterate again where this work is and what all we will be doing with it. So on this map, north is up here. So this is the north side of the street. Hillcrest is here. So the boxes are all going to be on the north side of the street. And in this view, this is actually, here's our section view this way. That's looking towards Turtle Creek. So this is the north side over here. And we have the boxes on the north side of the street, and then this lane of traffic, access lane on the south side. I realize that the car looks like it's going this way. That will not be the case. Just pretend those are taillights instead of headlights. So what this will kind of look like with the barrier and kind of how we'll be able to go through, they're going to replace the wastewater line and the sidewalk first, and we'll provide a temporary sidewalk on top of that. So it's not like they're going to dig it up and then you're having to walk. We've taken away your driveway and now you can't even walk down the sidewalk. We'll provide a temporary sidewalk for you to be able to walk back and forth. They're going to construct the boxes several lots at a time. And then when they're done with that, they'll put temporary pavement back on top of where they just worked. And then once we're all the way done, then they'll come back and repave the whole road fresh. So the south side will always be maintained as an access lane while they're building the boxes, excuse me. So the next couple of slides are just kind of an order of how this work is going to progress and kind of where we were looking at work zones and resident access. So on each of these slides, the blue is the work zone. On these slides, this kind of orangey section right here is parking or resident access, and barricades are shown here. So I've also got some traffic arrows right here that you can see. This is the direction of traffic. So the first piece that we're doing is this large junction box at Turtle Creek, and this will actually close almost the whole intersection, with the exception of letting cars come through this way, because you're still going, we're going to close this section of Hillcrest just to keep everybody, you can't go through this way, the road's closed ahead, don't come this way. So during this time period, y'all will have access to the whole road. I've just shown that we're going to not have parking on the south side, so the contractor always has a lane to go through with their equipment, their deliveries, that kind of stuff. So the north side, it won't be closed, but you'll have this nice wide street with very little traffic on it. And then you'll be able to take a right turn and go out Turtle Creek to the north. Then once they move into Southwestern, this is kind of what this is representative of how we're hoping, how this work is going to go. It may not be 3 lots, it may be 2, but it's basically they're going to kind of march along as if they're working here, and then they kind of pick it up and they work here, and then they pick it up and work here. So while they're working in this area right here, this whole area on the north side is available for parking for resident access. So these two, this resident has an access off the side, off of Turtle Creek, so not necessarily is impacted. But while these 2 houses are impacted, you can park here and still be able to get to your house. And it may be that it's just this piece, and then they move up. This is more or less just kind of a depiction of how we're going to think this is going to go. And then once they're done with that piece, this piece down here, and they're working here, this will be covered with temporary pavement. This will not, they won't have gotten here yet, so you'll have access here and here for parking. Same as we just kind of hopscotch our way up the street, up the hill towards Hillcrest. And then when we get to the end, all of this is covered with temporary pavement. And these residents might choose to park here. They may choose to park in the park, at the parking lot, depending on how close they need to be. So once we turn the corner onto Hillcrest, Hillcrest will have closures and or detours depending on the location. So we will make every effort to protect the trees in the parkway for this piece too. And the signals at Southwestern, but also at Caruth. There's new signals at Caruth as well. Those will not be impacted with this construction. We'll do everything that we can to do this. But there will be a hard closure on Hillcrest. And so the contractor can work much quicker. And what that's going to kind of look like is shown in blue. The solid blue here is the work zone. And then we'll have a hard closure at Caruth, mainly so that they're not getting up to Greenbrier and we're shooting everybody down Greenbrier. The road is closed ahead. This is for contractor access only right here. And then they can turn either way to go down Caruth. We will have detour plans in advance from the contractor. I don't have those yet, with kind of what their traffic control plan is going to be and how they intend to do some of this work. But for the most part, the closures on Hillcrest are so the contractor can move quicker down as they work up the street, basically. So while they're doing this work, this is kind of what this will look like. Then they'll kind of flip that a little bit. We'll still only have a hard closure at Southwestern. This will be, you get up here and you have to turn one way or the other. There will be road closed ahead signs at Lovers and at Northwest Highway, and probably even as you get up to Colgate. And I mean, you can pretty much see it when you're coming from Lovers, but that you can't go this way, find an alternate route, and that local traffic will just have to kind of find its way through. And once they move past Caruth, that section, I anticipate that section on the south will still be open, so you'll be able to come up to the park a little bit better. And the closure will be after Greenbrier. And this may alter just a little bit. We may do half blocks from the alleys, etc. I don't have that information yet from the contractor, but it will be up to the city staff to approve that. And we'll be letting y'all know as well, with all the social media things and everything else and how we communicate regularly with y'all. So to kind of touch on the pond dredging, this is a map of the park. The tennis courts are here. This is Turtle Creek, and here's the pond right here. So this part of the park will be open and the tennis courts will be open, but this right here is where the construction fence is going to be. So we're going to wet dredge this pond. What that means is they don't drain the water out of it, so it doesn't get smelly and gross. As badly. They essentially vacuum everything off of the bottom and put them in these big bladders that sit off on the side right here for the water to kind of drain out of them, and then they're hauled away on a truck. That process can take anywhere from, depending on what it is, can take a couple weeks to a couple of days. It's going to be kind of a work in progress, but this will all be fenced off. For the contractor to be able to use that work. The pond life impact will be really pretty negligible, which is why we chose to do the wet dredges, so we don't have to, the pool level will stay at the same level, so we won't have to relocate all the aquatic life, basically. And again, this work is going to take place simultaneously with some of the Southwestern work, so, and over the summer months. So just to touch on a couple of construction impacts and things for y'all to take forward. Our permitted working hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and on Saturday from 8 to 5. Saturday work requires prior approval. It's not a work day, and we require that about 48 hours in advance. But usually if they've got to finish a tie-in or if it's going to be more convenient to be able to do this work on a Saturday morning, then it would be if they're just trying to finish something up, is typically when those things come up, but you'll be notified in advance if anything outside of those regular working hours needs to happen. And we really appreciate your patience with this. I know it's going to be slightly inconvenient, very inconvenient. It's going to be loud. It's going to be messy. We'll do our best to have the contractor keep everything cleaned up. That's what they're paid to do, that. And keep a clean job site, and SYB does a great job with that. But we really appreciate your understanding. We're trying to get this very important project done as quickly and as courteously as possible. I realize that it's a headache for y'all, but this needs to happen so that we can get this water off of your property and into a storm drain underneath the street. So the little short-term headache, hopefully for a very long-term gain that will be beneficial for generations to come. So we really appreciate your understanding and patience with this. Just some project contact information, and we will, prior to construction, we'll get some letters out to y'all of kind of when this is starting, so it won't be a surprise, but the intent is kind of that second week of March. These are the contact information. Our project superintendent is Logan Bennett. He's actually on the phone, and our project manager is Rod Lacey. My construction inspectors are Gary Bouchelon and Mark Rusha, who have worked for the city for a long time. They do a great job. My contact information is there, and Jacob Spear, the Director of Public Works, is also there as well. And we're available for anytime you guys need anything. Just let us know. And that's about it. So we'll take some questions, and I hope that I have answered everything. And again, if you are not staying for questions, thank you so much for being here and taking your time out of your day.
Thanks, Katie. We do have a couple of questions that come in through the chat. So the first question is regarding the cost of construction. Or maybe not construction, maybe just for the project entirely. It says, what is the total cost of all phases of the project?
Oh, that one I don't know yet. The cost of this phase was $8.9 million. That's what council approved. The phase 1 project was a little under $5 million. And phase 3 that's coming will be work up Colgate and Airline to replace the storm drains that are there as well. That likely will not be near as much, but this is the biggest portion of it.
Okay, thanks, Katie. The next question says, the hard closure of Hillcrest from Southwestern to Caruth appears to severely limit access to their property. How will we approach our property, and how long does this last?
I'm going to go back to that slide if you'll give me 1 second. So most of the access for most of the residents, in fact, I think all of the residents, their access is actually off of the side streets, or they have access off the side streets to be able to access this. I am, with the exception of being Mr. Ferris, whose driveway is right here, and during that time,
and actually, Katie, this question did come from John, so that is who's asking.
I realize your driveway is right there. That's one of the reasons why we want Southwestern to be open, so that this will have to be a hard closure while they're working on this. We may be able to sneak you in this way, but I can't guarantee that right now. I apologize for that. It may just be that you need to park your car on Southwestern until we can get through that piece of it. The closure will be for a while during the duration, and that may be something that we also want to think about doing, just half blocks. Again, this was just kind of my estimation of how this would work, and kind of what we are anticipating the contractor to be able to do. If they're able to move a little bit faster and we can do it a little bit differently, we are open to that, obviously, to be able to provide access for you. So I will specifically address this once we get started, and we'll be able to work with you on kind of what needs to happen with that. So just stay tuned on that piece. The resident at Caruth and Hillcrest has that new driveway. They may be in the same spot, but they have a driveway in the front, so it's a little bit different. Mr. Ferris, you are a very unique situation, sir. So we'll be able to work with you as we move forward with that.
And he followed up, he says, access to the park during this time would help.
Right. So that's actually one of the things that I thought of is if we are able to just close that up to Greenbrier and or maybe just a half block so that y'all can be able to have that that parking lot. I'll work through those things with the contractor and have them kind of propose something for us. We'll know more once we kind of have a better idea of what we call it a lay schedule, how fast they can lay the boxes as they kind of move along. They're heavy, they require big equipment. So once we kind of have a better idea about that, I'll be able to give you a little bit better idea of when what will happen with that. And I'll be in touch.
Perfect. Thank you, Katie. And thanks, John, for that question. We have a request to put the timeline screen up. Can you go back to that slide?
Sure.
And then while you're pulling that up, I do see we have a hand raised, so I'm going to get to that. Susie, I see your hand. Let me get over there and unmute you so you can address Katie. Okay, I've unmuted you on my side, so I think you might have to, it says you're self-muted, so try unmuting now and you should be able to address. There you go.
I think we have two questions. I have one and my husband has one. Our big landscape trucks that come once a week, and I'm the third house in from going east, would they be able to park right around the corner at Turtle Creek along that line there? Because I don't know where they're going to park, and I'm not the only one that's got landscape trucks.
So one thing we haven't necessarily talked about is kind of that kind of thing with landscape trucks and deliveries, and Amazon deliveries and that kind of thing. The main important part of this is providing continuous access on the south side. So no, if UPS has got to pull in, but also to not encourage travel through. So I would, my best option for you, Susie, for right now is to maybe visit with your landscape company and see what options they might provide for you. They may be like, oh, sure, we can park around the corner and just bring our stuff over this way. And you and I talked specifically about that. Turtle Creek won't be that hard closure for when they're building the junction box. That's going to be pretty tough. But that section of Southwestern will still be open, and I'm sure that that would probably be fine. We're just really trying to limit the resident access only. That will be hopefully a sign that's on the local, not even local traffic only, like resident access only. But we're just going to have to work through some of those things as we kind of get into this construction project with where people can be, basically.
Should we talk to our neighbors and try to not all be on the same day?
That would be super helpful. Yes. I realized that maybe even, or have them come in once and like if it's the same company, that would be great.
Well, it's not the same company, but I'm thinking that like all of us right here at this one corner, the west corner, we have different people, but a couple of them are on the same day. I know mine is on the same day as the people across the street. So I'm just wondering if that would be something.
Well, I would, so the thing with this is that if they're taking up a parking spot for a resident, that's one less place for one of your neighbors to park. So the other thing with the folks on the south side, we realized that you still have access to your driveways, but you won't be able to park on that south side. You won't be able to have your yard truck pull up. So please be mindful that there are other people that have to use the street. So I think that would probably be okay, Susie. I can't definitively say yes right now, but that's something that we can definitely work with. And I would definitely encourage you to visit with your landscape company and see what they might, like alert them to this and see what accommodations they might be able to make as well.
And how many months are we talking about in general?
Well, that's kind of what on this.
I know it's a flexible.
So Southwestern is going to run basically through the end of this year, and it will be kind of hopscotching all the way up. And then once we turn the corner onto Hillcrest, that'll carry us through the summer of next year. So
9 months.
I'm sorry?
9 months then.
Yes, sir, just about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Thanks for attending.
Okay, let me see. I don't have any more questions through. Oh wait, actually I do. I'm sorry. Question, how long will Turtle Creek south of the junction box be impacted?
I'm guessing that is from Mr. Jones, who lives right there. That section is going to happen. I'm going to turn my pointer on so hopefully you can see this. I'm learning all the things with how you can do PowerPoint. So that's this piece right here. So they have this impacting about 10 days, probably about 2 weeks. And then they've got to get, it won't take them long once they kind of get going. I would anticipate that being a pretty good option. It's just trench work, and then they'll come back and be able to, once they get the box built, then they'll come back and do all the paving for that. So I hope that answers your question. It will not be very long at all.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Let me see if we've got any hands raised. Give me just a second here. No, I don't have any more hands raised. We might give it just another minute on the chat to see if anything else comes in, but right now we're caught up, so that's good.
Great, and I'll also say you're welcome to email me anytime with questions. My email address, you all have it because I emailed you how to get here, but you might let your neighbors know as well, or folks that were interested in this, and I can address them as they kind of come in. And we'll be able to have semi-regular kind of communication with closures or what's going to happen. When that section is done in front of your house, you will be notified that, hey, we're coming next week, we're moving in front of your house. If you'd like, for example, Susie, if you want it, like you're one of the first ones, but we'll be in front of your house next week or in 2 weeks, and kind of then if it's on a cycle with your yard guy, maybe don't have them come that week, depending on how fast they lay, maybe kind of change a different day or something like that. So that but we'll be notifying you of those things when we kind of get to it. So the other thing I want to iterate is that the storm drain work is going to happen, and then we will come back and do the paving. So, and that actually is a process. We have to pull everything out, and we'll be paving pieces of the road at one time. But that will be another impact, and then coming back and pouring your driveway. So once we're done with the storm drain, there will still be some closures of your driveways, but you will know about all of that in advance. And the end goal being that you have this nice, pretty new road and sidewalk, and we're not coming back. As Mrs. Myers says, you've given it the office. It's time for us to not be impacting you anymore. So we're doing our best to make that happen.
I still don't have anything that's come in. So I think we're good. I don't have any hands raised. I don't have any more chat questions. So I think we're good. Thank you guys. Thank you all for attending it. Katie said it a couple times. We really appreciate your time and engagement and joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you so much. And again, if you have any other questions, additional questions, let me know, and we'll be coming at you soon. So look forward to, if I haven't met you already, I look forward to meeting you soon.
Great. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.